pleasant nights, fellow travelers, along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King. That is right, and you can just call me Fuego for short, and I cordially welcome you once more to my Sai King program here on the Horror Show channel. So stoked to have you here, and as has kind of been the theme of this month of October here in the year of 19, it has been film anniversaries. Now, the first two that I did were 5-year anniversaries for Big Driver and For a Good Marriage, both of those being from the Full Dark No Stars for novella collection. And this one is much older, as a matter of fact. We are talking today about the 15-year anniversary since it was released October 15th, 2004 of Mick Garris Riding the Bullet. Yes, that's right, if we can get the gloss looking all chic and so on and so forth. So there's actually even a King quote here on the very front where it says, "The best of the independent films made from my work since Stand By Me." That's, boy, it's a pretty bold statement, Sai King, and I don't particularly think that it holds true. But, you know, it's not a bad movie per se. This is the full-length theatrical version. This movie was only released theatrically in a limited capacity, and it was actually considered a big box office failure. It only grossed like $130,000. So in a time where It Chapter 2 can crush, and, you know, even, I mean, the original It, I mean, my goodness, and make like hundreds of millions and all this other stuff, and then you think about, honestly, in 2004, that was where King's prominence had subsided significantly, I'd say. He was still very much beloved by CRs like myself, but yeah, the mid-2000s were kind of like a dead zone of sorts in some ways for Sai King and for adaptations of his work. The dead travel fast, yeah, which is actually a quote from Dracula, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so I just rewatched this film for the first time in a while, and I must admit, not a personal favorite of mine, but it was much stranger than I honestly remembered. So you've got in the lead role as Alan, and this takes place in 1969, just to let you know. So you've got Jonathan Jackson, and lots of people know him from like daytime Emmys he won for General Hospital, but he also was on a show called Nashville for quite a while. So yeah, I guess some country fans, some CMT peeps, they will definitely recognize him. He's a handsome dude, you know. He's got the Hollywood good looks. And then Super Babe as his girlfriend Erica Christensen, who in the early mid 2000s, like hell, most of the 2000s, she popped up in a lot of different stuff, and yeah, I used to always get her and girl from 10 Things I Hate About You confused. Julia Stiles, maybe I want to say, but yeah, she was terrific in Traffic, and she was in Swim Fan, and she was in, like, you will totally recognize this blondie because she was in various things throughout the 2000s, and she's only 37 now, and I'm not sure if she's, I think she's doing TV work more primarily now, but. And then the big billing on this is the fact that you've got David Arquette in the role of this guy who may or may not be dead, who picks up our lead, who is hitchhiking. So anyway, we always try to give just overall impressions, and then, you know, just you know, a little bit of story, a little bit of acting, so on and so forth. But if I'm going to be tackling this to the Horror Show specifications proper, so yeah, overall impressions, while I don't like hate on it, maybe. It's still not particularly memorable. Now, I love stuff that takes place in the late 60s, and obviously King has always written that very well because of the fact that that's when he matured. That's when he came up. He was a college student in the late 60s, and so he always writes the period very nostalgically, very heartfelt, and that's really no exception here. Alan, our lead, is basically like kind of obsessed with death, or at least people think he is. I mean, the film essentially starts with him. There's this naked woman that they're all like supposed to be drawing, and he has drawn her with like the Grim Reaper like right behind her, like hands on the shoulders and everything like that. And then his birthday is actually the day before Halloween on October 30th, and he thinks his girlfriend is breaking up with him, and so, you know, he attempts suicide like at the beginning of the film and ends up in the hospital and all this other stuff. But I'll get more to that in the story. But while I I appreciate Mick Garris' enthusiasm to want to make this into a film 4 years after its initial publication. This was actually King's first foray into mass market ebooks. So in March of 2000, King basically decided to do this experiment where he's like, okay, I'm gonna take this novella and I'm gonna put it online and I'm gonna allow people to download it and own it, you know, for their little e-readers, their Kindles or whatever's for, you know, $2.50. And in just the first day, it had like hundreds of thousands of downloads and everything. And so probably a pretty successful experiment. It was eventually collected 2 years later in March for Everything's Eventual. Once again, not a story that always really stuck out to me that significantly, and unfortunately the adaptation is no exception. It's not bad, but it's not particularly scary. It's not like an immensely compelling narrative, and especially for Mick Garris writing, producing, directing, you know, adapting the source material, obviously writing the script and stuff. As myself and my lady were talking about, you know, as we were watching this, we're like, wow, the tone is all over the place in this, and really it has all of these like goofy little like flashbacks and almost like mini dream sequences throughout the entirety of it. And it's got kind of a strange whimsical kind of vibe to it almost, but like the strange like silliness of those scenes, honestly, when the film tries to be serious, and it does try to be serious, especially with this like compassion and you know, love our Alan character has for his mother, because that's what like the whole framing of the narrative is. After he has his little suicide spat, Erica Christensen, that's her name, I believe, right? Yeah. So Jessica, I believe, the name of Alan's girlfriend. So she has bought him these tickets to go see John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band in Toronto, and of course Alan's got his two like token stoner buddies and stuff, and honestly it just made me want to watch Outside Providence, which, I mean, granted that takes place in Rhode Island, and you know, that's a terrific script written by oh boy, I want to say the Farrelly brothers are behind that one if I recall correctly, but I love Outside Providence. Anyway, if you're watching a movie and it makes you think about wanting to watch a different movie, yeah, that's probably speaking volumes. But so he's hoping to go to this concert, and unfortunately he finds out the same day that he is given these tickets as this birthday present after the attempted suicide and everything, that yeah, his mother's had a stroke. And so he's trying to get back to Lewiston to actually see her. Of course, he's going to the University of Maine in Orono, just like King did. So there's that parallel as well. But yeah, so for overall impressions, while it's a nice looking movie and there's cool Easter eggs like cruising around in the Christine car, mention of Castle Rock, stuff like that, as a whole, this film just doesn't particularly do it for me, unfortunately. And we've covered a lot of the bases of the story already, and yeah, it's essentially him trying to hitchhike to get to see his mother after she has, you know, had this nasty, you know, stroke thing go down and stuff. But halfway through the journey, he encounters our David Arquette character, this Staub guy, and of course I think Straub, you know, Peter Straub, although, you know, obviously there's an extra letter in that name and whatnot, and that being, you know, King's buddy who he co-wrote The Talisman and Black House with. But yeah, so Staub is the Arquette character who may or may not be a ghost. It's kind of made pretty evident pretty quickly whether he is or whether he isn't. But yeah, the whole film taking place on Halloween and him trying to hitchhike on Halloween, and you know, it's, I don't know, it's not supremely compelling, and it's just, yeah, weird with its tone all over the place. But I will say that I do enjoy performances, if we're going to segue into, you know, casting and acting and stuff like that. Barbara Hershey is a legend in the field, and she's acted for decades and decades, and she's Academy Award nominated. She's won Emmys and Golden Globes, and I mean, with the exception of when she was dating David Carradine from Kung Fu, really everything else as far as just the various iterations of her career have been heralded and celebrated and really looked highly upon. We already talked about Jonathan Jackson. He's actually he's done some music and stuff too, which is interesting. And then we all know David Arquette from the Scream series and from like Never Been Kissed and Eight-Legged Freaks and Ready to Rumble. Can you guys believe he was a WCW champion at one particular point? A lot of people contend that was disgraceful for that particular belt. But yeah, so the cast is good and all the performances are good, but I really must admit that this is not necessarily even, well, Garris does mess with the tone to a degree, as I mentioned earlier. So, I mean, it's not in the best shape when it's not like a personal favorite King story to begin with, and then when, you know, the scripting is a little bit all over the place, that's definitely not gonna help. But I do feel like the cast did all that they could, you know, with the source material that was given for them, and so I can't fault any of the acting. And there's a lot of scenes with Jackson, you know, our lead character Alan, where like there's cool camera tricks where there's two of him in a scene and he's talking to himself. And so as we segue into the actual filmmaking aspect of, you know, effects and, you know, practical and, you know, blood and cinematography and everything, the one thing, Mick Garris, who has shot a ton of different King projects, I mean, he started out with Sleepwalkers in the 80s, but he went on to do The Stand, which I still contend is one of the best adaptations that's ever been done, just recently released on Blu-ray in high definition with the color all cleaned up and stuff. Looks great. But he also did the remake of The Shining for television, and he also did Desperation, which was pretty damn good, actually. I still contend if they had only just had more freedom. But then again, he also did Bag of Bones, and you know, he did do Quicksilver Highway, which was a project that Clive Barker and King did together. So I mean, he's got tons of experience in the field of adapting Sai King material and stuff like that. And while I wasn't the biggest fan of the script, and I'm not always the biggest fan of his King adaptations, Bag of Bones being the most notorious, I must say that his films always look very, very good, and it is funny how they take the Christine car, and that's the car that they're romping around in, you know, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's just a weird hodgepodge of like great soundtrack, but yet weird flashbacks throughout, and there is an odd, like, whimsical nature to everything. Yeah, lots of dream sequences, you know, and the whole double meaning of, like, what actually riding the bullet is. You know, there's flashbacks to a roller coaster sequence, and that is the proverbial bullet that they're describing here, but there is also almost parallels made between, you know, riding a roller coaster and between being picked up as a hitchhiker. And I also couldn't help but think about the Roger Waters solo album, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, because of the fact that really you're at the mercy of somebody, you know, in a hitchhiking situation, and somebody could be completely compassionate and cool and help you out, or they could like try to rape and kill you. So it's really, I mean, it could go one of two ways, and at least in the Roger Waters album, there were parallels made with, you know, hitchhiking and just relationships, like romantic relationships. But yeah, so I definitely was thinking of that as I was watching this film. But yeah, there's some, it's all shot very well, and there is a little bit of cool practical and stuff. Like, I love the makeup on our Grim Reaper when we do see him. The makeup is also pretty solid on David Arquette, and some of these like dream sequences where, you know, you're like, is he dead, isn't he dead, what's going down? And there's also another story that he tells where this guy is trying to sell this beautiful Cadillac, and he's letting it go for next to nothing because of the fact that his wife died in it, and he just like could not get the stench out of the vehicle no matter what he did. And so, you know, the bulging of, you know, just, you know, this nasty corpse and stuff, like all of the makeup and practical is also very much on point. The soundtrack is terrific as well, if I'm going to segue into the musical aspect. Anything late 60s, if they spend the money on those songs, you know, the come on people now, smile on your brother, stuff like that, it's a very hippie-ish soundtrack, with the exception of the score, which is definitely much more modern. And that's another time where the tone is like kind of off base, because of the fact that you've got like the hippie folk songs, and then you'll segue into something that just sounds way too modern, and it kind of takes you out of the proceedings a little bit. So, you know, yeah, fun is fun and done is done, I guess, which is actually also quoted in Dreamcatcher, which is kind of funny to me. We also get a Garris cameo at the end, but yeah, guys, I must say, as a whole, I really want to revisit the actual book because I do have the Lonely Road Special Edition here, which is pretty dope. And so one side is the original novella, and then the other side is the Mick Garris script. And then there's also, like, you know, notes and artwork and stuff like that. You've got some Bernie Wrightson flavor in here, which is pretty dope. So if I'm just to give you a quick little idea of some of the artwork, and you know, you can kind of take a peek there. So it's very beautifully put together. You've got notes from on set from Garris. You've got photos as well as the entire original script, and then you've just got these cool drawings that Bernie does. There is an entire art gallery by Bernie Wrightson, and so we've got death. We've got lots of drawn boobs and all kinds of fun things like that. So I mean, anything Wrightson is just delightful in my estimation, and you know, rest peacefully because he is no longer with us. Like, here's another really strange one. Like, check that out if you can see it without the glare. So yeah, I mean, if you can track this down, I'm not sure if it is below cover price currently or not. It was $75 when I initially purchased it, plus shipping. But this is one that I've been sitting on for quite a while, and I need to revisit the short story, obviously, because that is definitely one thing that I wasn't 100% about, was just how much was changed, how much was augmented, altered, all of that different stuff, you know, by Garris for the finished product. But yeah, I must admit, while I do feel like Garris made this, you know, with love and esteem and affinity and all of that different stuff, it's just not one of those Sai King stories that I would name as one of my personal favorites, or even like even in like a larger scope or scheme of things. I don't know. There's lots of great bonus content on the DVD. If you wanted to try to obtain it, you've got director, cast, and crew commentary. You have a mini featurette gallery. You've also got something, The Art of Riding the Bullet. I'm assuming that's probably just some additional stuff about the Bernie Wrightson artwork and whatnot. You've got storyboard to film comparison. So yeah, it is a pretty... There is also a bare bones version of this, but I definitely recommend, if you feel inclined to try to, you know, purchase all of the Sai King film adaptations, as I have, definitely get the version that has the bonus features. But yeah, I need to definitely revisit the short, and it's only, I want to say, like, it's less than 50 pages, if I'm not mistaken, or at least in this particular form. I thought it was like 40 something pages, but let's just, yeah, at least in this particular version, 48. This is an oversized version, obviously, so I think that maybe it's in Everything's Eventual even shorter than that. But yeah, this is going to be the end of our anniversary coverage for the month of October here in the year of 19. But I must make mention that the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group, which if you are not a part of it and you would like to have some cool palaver with other constant readers, it is a spot where I am the sole admin and moderator of the proceedings, and all that I ask is that, with the exception of on Fridays, when we do Freak Out Fridays, and you can you know, post about anything tasteful that you would like to, that the rest of the time we keep it all to just the King clan. So yes, you can talk about Tabby, you can talk about Joe, you know, who I'm just about done with Full Throttle, and a review of that is going to be going up in the coming days. Boy, all I think about is you, or all I care about is you, something like that. This sci-fi tale that I read from that, holy crap, did it knock me in the face. It was so goddamn good. I cannot wait to speak about that. Also, Late Returns is fantastic. I mean, Stephen King's kid is getting better and better, which is actually kind of crazy to think about. But yes, Joe Hill is a tremendous talent, and discussing him along with his pops. And yes, if you want to have some of that discussion, please jump over to the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group. But I was going to say that for its 30th anniversary, the October book of the month is none other than The Dark Half. That's why you don't see it sitting on my shelf right there. You know, Staub, Stark, George Stark in this particular case, you know. Yes, next Saturday will be the live discussion and also the announcement about what we are planning to do for the month of November. We also have, Castle Rock just premiered. There's new episodes of Creepshow coming, although, you know, the only King story adaptation was Grey Matter in the first episode, but we still have the Joe Hill, you know, the Silver of Lake Champlain, or whatever the hell it is. Terrific story, another one from that Full Throttle collection. that is just amazing, along with In the Tall Grass, along with Throttle. I mean, it's a great collection. But yes, that's going to be the end of the proceedings for today, y'all. I have been Jaime Fuego. You can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where I have my own channel as well called Infuegotainment. I just put up a review for Ad Astra. Coming soon is a review for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot with special guest co-host Cecil Laird from here on The Horror Show. Lots of Star Wars coverage leading into December and The Rise of Skywalker, including my thoughts on the final trailer that went up this past week as well. But obviously, you're here on The Horror Show, so if you have not liked and shared and subscribed, please do that. It is supremely appreciated. And I must also mention that every Monday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I am humbled and honored to be a part as guest host of the Willis Greedia program, Show Business. It is always a blast with Lindsay, CP, and myself talking about weekend box office numbers, looking ahead to the following week, and also having some of that palaver about some of the biggest news stories of the previous 7 days. So I have been Fuego, y'all have been awesome, and until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, I shall say hasta luego, sin amigos, and constant readers alike. I am hopeful that we get to share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. Say thank you, and until that instance occurs, remember, stay scared, and definitely, in this case, read Stephen King.